Okay, so let's talk about closing the sale. We already went through the most common objections you would get, which is Mount Nut. We already talked about prospecting, which would mean hopefully by now you would have made sales pitches, which we already discussed. Now we need to get to them paying, which is how you get paid. So let me get straight to the point. It is not a sale until the money comes out of their pocket and goes into your pocket, which means it has to potentially pass through their accounting department, their marketing department, whoever it is they have to pass through. It then has to pass through the Paylang Media bank account and then go into your account. So, just so we know exactly the flow of the cash. Now, we need to make that happen. So, a technique which I learned many years ago is where we assume the close. It's called the assumptive close, I think it's called. But let me explain what exactly it means. So, we go into the sales situation under the assumption that this client already wants what we have to offer. We're not just assuming anymore that maybe they want it, maybe they don't. We already know that they want what it is we have to offer because we made a damn good sales pitch. We built the trust with them. We did everything we had to do. So, as far as we're concerned, they want our service. So, where the assumptive clause comes in is where you use certain phrases such as who do we send the invoice to, or can we get started today, or let's get this thing done by next week, as in let's get the entire project finished off by next week. Or we say something along the lines of I can have this job finished I can have this job finished by the end of the month. So we get them to start to get into the mindset that okay, time to pay. And most of the times, because the customer does not know our process, they don't know when to pay. Or even in some organizations, they may have a purchasing manager whose primary job is to keep that money in their bank account as long as possible. So their job is not just to say, here, Mr. Paylau sales rep, take the money. Or Miss Paylau sales rep, take the money. No. Their job is to make you work for that money. Keep that in mind also. As well as the mindset of plenty business owners in Trinidad and Tobago is you hold on to that cash as long as possible, and a sales rep has to actually come out and ask for that money before the money goes out. You can't blame them. That's just how it is. I mean, I do that sometimes too. If somebody comes to sell to me, you need to come and do a good job when you're selling. That's just life. So, let me go into at least some examples. So, back when I first started selling, it was physical products, which we could use those examples even in our services. So when we sold the physical products, we made our demonstration, we showed them the value of everything, we showed them the deal they're getting, and we would have pulled out a receipt book and asked them the question, so who do we make out the receipt to? That also could work in what we're selling in terms of the website, because it is initial cost that they have to put out, which means they have to put out some money. Now, what you could do as a new salesperson is, as a tool, invest in a cheap receipt book. You just have a little $5, $10 receipt book in your bag, in your pocket, whatever. So when you walk in with that receipt book, they see the receipt book, they already know, okay, this person came to collect money. So they already have that in their mind already. Now, when you pull out the receipt book and ask them whose name to put on the receipt, they already know, okay, it's time to cut a check, it's time to pull out cash, whatever the case is, it's time to do that. So it could be used as a quick technique to make it happen, to make the close come through a bit faster. Now, I don't think I discussed this before in any other videos. The way PayLow does it is it's a certain process where all our invoices, quotations, receipts, etc., it comes through their email. So the receipt book is just simply a tool to get there, but we will send them an official receipt after. Now, as we go through the sales process, as you would have made the initial pitch and all of that, discussed the initial pricing, you would have brought back that discussion to us, and we would have issued the customer with an invoice. If it's a situation where you go to meet with a potential client and you charge them some small money, something that you know they have in the petty cash, there's no reason why you can't pull out the unofficial receipt book, the cheap one I told you to get. It doesn't have to have any big official company stamp or whatever, because as you will explain to them, you're giving them this receipt because they pay the cash, but they will be issued an official invoice and receipt from the company via email. So don't ever let the official stuff get into the way of you closing that sale. If you created that agency to close the sale on that spot at your first meeting, don't let procedure such as, hey, we need to invoice them, we need to do this, we need to do that, affect it. The most I would say is, if you close the sale for, I think anywhere between $500 to maybe $1,500, it would make sense, maybe $2,000. It might make sense to just give them the quick receipt and then we invoice them after. I have no problem with that. Just please be sure that you, even if you take a picture or whatever and give us a copy of that receipt so we can match it up with what we're going to give the invoice after, make sure you do that. So there's always that level of accountability. Now back to the closing again. So you could use the assumptive close, which is where you pull out your receipt book and ask them who to make out the receipt to and start writing. And that would normally get them to the point where the objections will start to come out. So the reason I covered the mount nut earlier is that during the course of your sales pitch, you should handle the objection. So when it's time to close the sale, the objection should not be there. But when it's time to ask for the money, that is usually when these objections usually come out. So this is where you start to write this receipt, or you pull out the receipt book or whatever the case is, and this is where the customer might tell you, well, I don't have the money for that right now, or now is not the right time for that right now, or well, hopefully you would have covered the need part of it. Hopefully they wouldn't say I don't need that right now. But usually it is at that point in time where the customer would give you the objections. That is where you might realize they don't have the urgency to make this deal happen today, and you create that urgency. Or this is where they might ball out, so who's you? I don't, who's PayLow? And you start to get the trust issues starting to come out. So getting to the close is a good way to figure out what is the issue. Now, because the customer may have given you an objection, there is no reason why you should take that objection and fold up and think to yourself, okay, this person will never buy from me. Because they gave you the objection, it means that they simply need to get whatever issue they have. They just simply need to get that issue sorted out. Like, for example, if they give you the I don't have the money for that right now, you could give them something along the lines of, well, you don't have to pay me the full $2,000 today. I'll take a down payment, and you negotiate a down payment to get the job started. It could be half down. Maybe you get them to pay the $1,000 down and they pay the next $1,000 after. Or let's just say it's a trust issue. Maybe they need to see more examples of work we did. Pull out your phone, show them the work that we did, show them that, okay, we could handle your job. Um, Now, what I've noticed, at least based on my experience, is urgency is the major issue we will bounce up so far, because I think our price point is perfect. Most businesses that we approach, if not all, have the money to pay us. Um, we could work it in such a way where time should not be an issue, because especially if certain holiday seasons coming up, Christmas, maybe Father's Day, maybe Mother's Day, we always have some holiday season coming up which we could use to let this be the right time to have an e-commerce website running. So that is usually not the issue. Most, if not all, businesses have a need for our service. It's really the urgency part of it that I've noticed is the problem. So what you could do is use your salesmanship a little bit here. So you have the ability to create the urgency, like let's just say you know the customer agreed to pay, let's say $2,000-3,000. Just assuming, I don't know how much they agreed to pay, but because you would have a certain understanding of how the profit margins work and how much we need to make off of the sale to make it happen, you could give them a small discount. Mr. Customer, here's what. If we agree to get this job started today, here's what I would give you the domain for free, or I'll give you 1 month hosting for free, but you need to get this job started right now or within the week, or give them a time frame that makes sense for them. If you get it done within this certain time frame, I would give you your domain for free for the first year, or I'll give you the first month hosting free, or give them some incentive. Or I will do XYZ for you, I will run a social media campaign for you. Give them some incentive. If you're lost on what incentive you could give them, talk to me, talk to your superior, talk to someone who may be able to give you some guidance on what you could give the customer to create that. So give them something which they could potentially lose out on if they don't handle the sale today. Another way you could create that urgency is alert them to the fact that your customers, they want to purchase online. If you don't have this ability to sell them online or reach them, then you are losing out on potential business, you're losing out on potential money. You could even go as far as letting them know that, most businesses are getting e-commerce websites, e-commerce solutions built for them right now, and chances are your competitor, Mr. Singh down the road, he may also be building one too. So you need to be one step ahead of Mr. Singh, just as an example. So create the urgency, be creative when you create the urgency, because what might work for one customer may not work for all the customers. This is something you would probably get with more experience. I would say though, the main thing is ask for the money, whether it be through you pull out your receipt book, or you simply ask the customer or tell the customer that we would like to get this thing started by XYZ date for you. Let me give a first-hand example with something that happened with me. Can't remember if I spoke about it in a previous video, but just to repeat the experience again. This is where I went to someone, they saw the need for what it is we could do. They saw the need, they know they needed a update on their website. It's November, as of recording this video, I believe it was last week. So during the course of November, she was saying that, well, after Carnival, maybe after February, March, somewhere around there, we could get this thing started because XYZ is the case, Christmas coming up, they're busy, whatever. And I showed them the urgency in getting it done, because their business is business registration. And as I was explaining to them, in January, many people who have their New Year's resolution will want to have their business registered, which means you need to have something in place to show them what you could do for them by, let's just say, the first week in January. And in order to get that done, it means that we need to start your job in December, because December is a short month. You have basically 3 weeks to get anything done in December, which means by November month end, we need to have everything in place to get you started. And we created that agency. So it went from, they wanted to wait, until next year to get this project started. And I got it down to, you need to at least get everything sorted out within a week to 2 weeks. Because we don't want to miss out on January sales. And that created the agency for her to say, okay, you know what, Michael, yeah, let me start to organize everything so we can get stuff started by month end. She had no problem with the price, she had no problem with anything else. Her main problem was the urgency to get it started, and we dealt with that. So without making the video too long, ask for the money. When you ask for the money, whatever objection comes your way, deal with the objection. And once we have the objections dealt with, ironed out, then there's no reason why you can't get that sale. Most importantly, as again, let me repeat, ask for that check, ask for the money. If you don't ask for it, the potential client is not going to, well, chances are they are not going to just jump up and say, here, what? How much for it? $3,000, only $3,000. Most of the times they're not going to do that. You need to ask for the $3,000, or you need to work out a payment plan to get the $3,000, whether it be pay half down or pay $1,000 now, pay $1,000 next week, pay another $1,000 after. That is where you come in. So if you need any help, please feel free to ask.